What's up? I'm Alex, the entrepreneur. Today I'm talking to you about the official Strapi release that just came out. It came out last Tuesday, and the keyword for this is streamlining. More specifically, the latest introduction is the simplified configuration and a more intuitive setup with the introduction of a utility that allows you to use process.env to set up your configuration in a simplified approach. So when it comes to the configuration folder, you'll see that you no longer have your environments. You no longer have /config, /environment, /production, blah, blah, blah. You actually have a single folder that contains your functions, and we're not going to cover those, and then it contains your actual configuration. And the three core files that I want to put your attention to are called server.js, which has to deal with the server. Then you have database.js, which has to deal with the database. And lastly, plugins.js, which has to deal with the plugins. The way the configuration works now is that instead of having a JSON file, you're going to have a JavaScript file that will export a single function. And this function will receive a bunch of stuff. Honestly, I think it will receive the Strapi global object, but basically you're going to get the this env utility that you're going to be able to use as a function. And this function, this env utility function, if provided with a key, it will check if that key exists in your process.env variables. And if it's there, it will populate that value. Otherwise, it may be provided with a default. So you can have a default. This is the example. You can have env. The first parameter is the name, send default from. If you have this in your global variables or in your process.env variables, then it's going to be injected. Otherwise, it's going to fall back to your developer at strapi.io variable. And what does it all mean? It basically means that with a setup such as this one, for this example is taken from a file called plugins.js for plugins. If you're setting up your SendGrid provider, as long as you also have an API key for your development, which I'm going to cover in a second, as long as you have that, you're going to basically just have to use this very basic set of configuration in order to configure your plugin. You're not going to have to write anything else beside this, because by using env variables, you're already covering the usage of development and production variables. So the other side of the introduction from this new version of Strapi is that every single install will come with a file called .env.example, and this file can be renamed to just .env, and whatever you put in that, it will be loaded as a process.env variable. So if you type a variable in the example above, we have sendGrid default from. So if you type sendGrid default from and you set it to your own email, then you're going to be able to access it through the env utility. And the reason why is because Strapi will automatically pick up your .env files, which is a welcomed addition and a great simplification. So this is kind of the main update that we got from this new version. There's some stuff that has been introduced, but I'm not going to cover that because it's not fully finished yet, so I don't want to bring spotlight to something that is not yet to a certain quality level. But at this point, these updates are adding to a couple of new features that are showing a clear movement of what the Strapi team is doing, which is moving toward the idea of streamlining and simplifying the code base and the code. Honestly, to make it easier for more people to engage with it, which I think is they have accomplished that. I also think that this new simplification will make it way easier for people to develop plugins. So if you're looking into plugin development for Strapi, drop a comment below, because that's probably something I'm going to be covering very soon, because I think the time is ready. Like we're ready to actually cover that as of now. And so the other updates that we got throughout the beta version were the media library, which basically simplifies the way in which you upload your files. Then the extension system, which simplifies the way in which you override your plugins. And then you have your core controllers and services, which basically makes your entire API folder way less cluttered. So the media library offers self-optimization for file upload and with intuitive endpoints, the same endpoints as before, which are very simple to get started with, by the way. And it also adds some nice to have features for SEO optimization. So you can add rename your image, add your meta tags, stuff like that, as well as optimizing the weight of the file by using the Sharp plugin from npm. And the extension system instead simply means that you can use folders and files that mirror the structure of your plugin to overwrite that plugin. And in this example, I'm showing you putting a controller called email.js, and then I can, for example, create a function called send, and if I were to do that, I'm basically overriding the default controller for the email plugin that actually makes an email send. So this is how you can engage with those. I'll cover that in a separate video as well. And the introduction of core controllers and services makes it so that whenever you create a new collection type or even a single type, you're gonna have no contents inside of your controllers and services because they're all gonna be defaulted. You're gonna have your find one, your create, your count, your delete, your update. They're all gonna be there. It's just that since they're already defaulted, they all behave the same for every collection type. There's no reason to write them anymore, which is very convenient. And if I were to give you a word of advice, whenever you're customizing controllers and services, you can customize services for internal behavior, such as a process that happens inside of Strapi without the user knowing, such as, for example, running some math, making another request, for example, to a third party to verify some data, stuff like that, while the controller is related to external behavior, i.e. Behavior that has to do with user input, behavior that has to do with stuff that you received from the external as an API service. So yeah, this is basically the elephant in the room, is that there is still no role-based access control. So you could argue that the stable release is not the final release. You couldn't say this is like the new release, because technically the most important feature that most people have been waiting for in order for them to actually, I would say, to double their productivity with Strapi is the RBAC. And I think I can show you from the commits that it's been worked on. I can't give you a timeline because I haven't worked on the feature myself, so I don't know, and I'm not qualified to tell you that. They put it in progress in the development under Q2, so you would assume that they estimate to be done by the end of Q2, and I'm gonna trust them on this estimate. Although if I were to look at the commit history, you can see that a lot of stuff has been done for RBAC. You can see the generic RBAC, the role list, the super admin. There's also a renew token, which is a nice to have feature that is kind of separated from this. But basically, there is no mention to the field level permissions. So most likely, the user roles permission are being worked on right now, while the field level permission, if they're simple enough, which again I can't really speak on that, but if it's simple enough, they may be able to throw that in. Otherwise, you can expect the user roles and permission to come out. So yeah, this is literally the last piece for let's call it the complete Strapi, the best Strapi we can expect, and hopefully that's gonna come out soon. Most likely in a month or a couple of months. That said, this brought all in all, these changes are very streamlining. So for people that are being onboarded right now, their experience with Strapi is going to be way easier. For my experience, it has been a little bit disruptive in adapting to these changes because they happen very rapidly, especially in the latest releases of beta up until the stable release. I'm assuming that, but well, also I'm also a course author, so I had to adapt way faster than most other people because my students, refer to me for any stuff that broke the code. So you wouldn't necessarily experience it in the same way. But on the other end, I'm assuming that this stable release signifies the end of this fast-paced level of changes, and instead we're gonna see more of milestone-based changes where every new update should bring a new feature or should bring something significant when it happens. That said, as you can see from the new design, I'm doing a version 2.0 of my own content, which also means that I'm doing a version 2.0 of the Complete Strapi course, which is the course that I teach. And as of filming, I'm finishing up a complete update. I've been reshooting the entire introduction. From what you can see, the course has been appreciated by quite a lot of students, and it is highly rated. And I'm addressing especially this range, because some people hate it. You can't do anything about that, but most people love it. and I'm addressing the 4 stars and the 3 stars range, where most of the complaints had to do with the fast pacedness of the beginning of the course. So I'm gonna address that by building an entire new project in which you'll go from zero to having a complete understanding of Strapi while we build a project, instead of just having me doing these short lectures. And as of now, I've already redone the entire introduction. So if you want to get started with Strapi on the stable version, the content is already updated. And as a bonus, after already 21 plus hours of content, I'm also adding an extra curriculum piece in which we cover all of the topics that I would normally cover just in the theory, but actually cover them through a complete project, so that you get exposed to all of the possibilities that you have while working with Strapi. And this is in addition to a bunch of other projects that we have, which show you, for example, how to build a simple portfolio, which is a great way if you don't necessarily have great experience with React. It's a great way to get started with React and Strapi. Then I have an extensive section on file upload, and then we build an inventory stock management application. We build login. You're going to build login. You're going to make it safe and secure. Then you're going to be introduced to an incredible concept called components and dynamic zone, which is a unique introduction of Strapi. And basically, you're going to be able to build a portfolio builder, which is more similar to like a landing page builder, by using dynamic zones and components. So you're going to leverage the UI, Strapi's UI, to actually build something that can be changed by non-technical people, which is really powerful. And then the cherry on top for this entire course is the Gatsby related projects, in which you're not, after learning React and learning Strapi, you're actually going to use Strapi and React with Gatsby to build static sites, and that way you're going to have extremely performant websites. And if you look at the reviews, you can see that a lot of people have built a career out of coding with Strapi and with this kind of technologies. So I believe this is an amazing skill to have if you're looking to sharpen that edge and to get more opportunities. That said, I'll be finishing up the updated version of the course, and I'll make sure to release a new trailer once it's there. Most likely, when I release this video, you're gonna see a different image here, because this is the old one. I'm gonna have a new one, and I'm gonna be covering more topics. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments. If you have any question, ask away, and have an amazing day.